All right, everyone, we have a major political scandal. Trump supposedly said naughty, racist things to his lawyer, Michael Cohen. You know, the one that might end up in a jail cell fairly soon. Now, Michael Cohen is best known for having recorded a couple of short conversations with Trump with regards to Stormy Daniels payments. You know, the ones that took place before he actually signed election paperwork and therefore were perfectly legal. But Michael Cohen claimed that, I guess, that they weren't. And it was really, really slimy because it's like, hey, why would a lawyer be recording conversations with the client? That's privileged information generally, unless it's strictly criminal in nature. So you get a little bit of a conflict there, obviously political in nature. Think a book deal being signed in the future or something by all of these people. Now he's saying, though, that Trump said racist stuff to him. Like one of the quotes was specifically that minorities wouldn't vote for him because they were dumb. So again, it fits in with the one-dimensionality narrative that I've spoken of, where they're trying to portray Trump as he's a bore, basically. He's boorish, he's pig-headed, small hands, he's fucking sexually frustrated, perverted, evil, and mean. He's just an ignorant person. He's a stereotype. He's a stereotype of a fat, ignorant old man. The problem is, of course, Michael Cohen, who is so fond of recording things, apparently never thought to record one of these racist rants. That's interesting, Michael. I wonder if that's because it never happened. It's because it never happened. You're never going to get a recording of Trump saying these things because it's not real. It's like with Tom Arnold there. Remember, he just said months and months ago, after I think it was like over a year ago, he first alluded to this, and others have too. Oh, there's a tape of Trump saying the N-word. And he never coughed it up. And when confronted on this, he's like, oh, well, I'm getting like death threats and stuff. Yeah, I couldn't pass it off to somebody else. It's like, I'm being threatened. I can't prove that I'm being threatened at all, but yeah, that's a compelling reason for me not to divulge this tape to like CNN or something. Yeah, I can completely cripple the Trump campaign. I can get him impeached today because I've got this tape, but I'm not going to give it to you. Essentially, it's a cock tease. It's an attempt for basically attention. And then he's done it again recently, a couple months ago. Again, oh, I've got the tape. I'll release it. Okay, go ahead, says Trump. Fucking release the tape if you got, again, shit or get off the pot. Of course, there's no tape, so there's nothing to release. There is no N-word tape. There's no Cohen tape of Trump saying mean things about minorities. Because that's one-dimensional, stereotypical propaganda. And the reason why the media takes it seriously and runs with it, like he gives this article to Vanity Fair of all places, that's probably because even CNN wouldn't report it. And so you have to put it through a tertiary, third-rate tabloid, basically. They're all tabloids at this point, but Vanity Fair's audience, not necessarily the New York Times, if you know what I'm saying. It's a little bit different, far-left composition maybe there. Now, Michael Cohen has exactly zero on Trump. He has nothing. He would have already given it up by now. Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'll come out with an excuse. Oh, it's because I'm talking to the investigators and stuff. It's pertinent to the Mueller shit, so I can't give it to you yet. Yeah, right before the midterms. I can't leak it to the press before the midterms in order to destroy the Republican Party that I apparently have a stick up my ass about. That's funny. All of these people over and over, Stormy Daniels referred to it, Tom Arnold, now Cohen's referring to all of these things that Trump has said in confidence to all of these people, Omarosa and fucking all these other people. There's never any tape of it. You have the Billy Bush tape from, years and years ago. That's apparently the pinnacle of their abilities. Okay, Trump said something piggy to someone who's basically, he's hanging out with the fucking MTV boys and he gets a little bit bawdy because he's Donald Trump and it's the mid-fucking 2000s at the time. It's culturally speaking totally appropriate at the time. That's basically how everyone in the alt culture talked at the moment. Again, refer to Worldwide Wrestling, refer to Howard Stern, refer to Jackass, refer to Beavis and Butthead, refer to any of the cool stuff about that period of time, late 90s through basically the early 2010s. Yeah, it's all the same sort of fucking Chad. Yeah, a lot of it in retrospect is considered very sexist. Not particularly abnormal at the time, though, regardless of your moral feelings regarding it. Michael Cohen, meanwhile, says Trump said racist things to him, but once again, we're going to be disappointed. It was funny because, again, the Krasensteins and the Dworkins and all the usual moron characters come out and say, oh, Trump's done for this time. It's just like they're waiting for Mueller to indict him. He's not going to indict Donald Trump. The Mueller probe is slated to end not long after the midterms. Mueller has probably already ended the probe for all significant intents and purposes. The only thing left on the table at this point is fucking Roger Stone. They've been investigating him for months. Apparently they haven't found reason to indict him. It's like, hey, we want you to answer some questions. Are we going to indict you? No. Because we're not crazy, because we know that nothing actually happened. We're just seeking to retroactively justify a probe that was botched from day one, even before technically Mueller was involved and it began in the first place. It was botched by the time that Christopher Steele compiled his dossier for political reasons. Half a year before the probe begins. It was already botched. It was already a slipshod job in which fakery was passed off as real, and accidentally the FISA court and Rosenstein signed off on it and began an elaborate political probe that itself might be totally unconstitutional, spying on an active presidential campaign while being reigned over technically in a roundabout way by an existing administration from the other party. It's suspicious at every possible level, but Michael Cohen making this claim is not going to change the political optics of this country one bit. In fact, you'll notice, within less than 12 hours, it dropped off the face of the earth. Vanity Fair runs it. The Krasensteins RT it, and Dworkin talks about how he believes it, and believe Michael Cohen, he's a wonderful person, even though he was Trump's lawyer for an extended period. And then they shut up about it, because it's clear nothing's going to happen. There's no tape. There's no recording. There's no corroboration whatsoever. Most people who have ever interacted with Trump have never said this sort of shit about him. There are a handful of people that have interacted with Trump that say he's been rapistic or he's been racist. But that's a very small proportion of the people he's hung out with. Virtually everyone in wrestling knows of him. He rubs elbows with basically every group of celebrities possible because he's got so much money. It's like Donald Trump can randomly crash your wedding, hand you a wad of cash, and then leave after, drinking the punch or something. He can do that sort of shit. He rubs elbows with every fucking political figure. I would assume that somebody would have actual dirt on him other than the fucking 2-decade-old almost Billy Bush tape. But so far, nothing. Despite the fact, again, that Tom Arnold, Omarosa, and Stormy have all alluded to the tape actually existing, it's never been actually made public. I wonder why. I wonder if that's because it doesn't exist. Because it's just propaganda. And I still think Omarosa is still working for Trump. Absolutely. I still think that she's working for him, that her lurid tales and ultimately worthless bullshit was a distraction. It's basically a way to get Trump back in the news, and he does this. He has people he formerly worked for, he offers them money in order to go out and pretend to hate him now and tell stories that aren't true to lead the media on a wild goose chase. Dude, this is exactly the sort of shit he did as a businessman. He used to call up and offer news tips about himself by disguising his voice a little bit, and he had some sort of code name that he used. Oh yeah, I work in Trump Tower. Here's a news tip. Here's what Trump's up to. Trump's laundering his socks right now. He can't come to the phone. He used to do this. It's been more or less proven that Trump used to call up the news in order to create tabloid stories about himself for free publicity, and they ran with it. Well, where do you think he got that tendency? I bet you anything. If Mattis leaves, he'll be one of those people. Oh, what stories he could tell that he'll have gotten from Trump in exchange for large sums of money in the first place. Almost guaranteed. You watch if Mattis leaves. It's going to be hilarious. Bannon's done this too. Bannon's on his side, but remember, for a brief moment there, he's like, well, the Trump admin has problems, his staff are, up in arms and stuff. Again, how much did you get paid, Steve? Did he offer you $1 million? You've already got a high salary. I mean, you run Breitbart. You make a lot of money. How much did he have to pay you to do this? I'm not criticizing. I mean, I'm sure other politicians have done this. It's not illegal, but it is funny. It's funny to watch the media wrap itself in circles. How much do you think does he have Scaramucci still on retainer to come out and tell stories to the tabloid press? I wonder how much. That's about all. Peace out.